Today we're going to be looking at the inspection of the material condition of FRP. So we're going to be doing this mostly in a dry dock. You do look at it on an annual exam when you're up on the deck. You can be looking at the material condition of that. But looking at the hull, we're going to be doing that at a dry dock. So some of the hazards of dry dock is you want to be making sure you know what's above you at all given times. If I'm going underneath the boat, I need to make sure I have my hard hat on. Since we're in a dry dock, there's also additional concerns of that on the boat is up on jacks. So are the jacks already chained to give you that extra level of protection? Because the one thing we don't want is the boat coming down on top of you. We're also going to be looking at our all these other hazards. What's going on around you? Is there forklifts going around? Making sure you keep that general sense of your situational awareness and not just focusing on the boat that you're looking at. For the PPE, we're going to be looking at is your standard PPE that you wear every single time. Also looking at what's going on around you. If they're actively sanding fiberglass, do you need a mask on? Do you need to have extra gloves? Because there's other hazards going on to make sure that we take care of that. So when we're looking at FRP, we're going to be using our two main senses. We're going to be using sight and we're going to be using sound. So what we want to do is we want to look at the boat. We want to look at delamination, look for water running down the hull, particularly if the boat's been out for a couple of days and it's hasn't been raining. Like here, you can see I've got dry fiberglass on either side and this wet in the middle. When I press on this hole up here, you can see water coming out. So that tells me that I've got water intrusion into the core of the vessel, and we're going to have to do pretty extensive examination to figure out what's the extent of the damage onto here. Also looking for other types. You're going to be looking for cracks for it. We're going to be looking for blistering, looking for abrasions, things that don't look like the rest of the vessel. So up here you can see I've got some spalling up here, and I'm too short to actually reach it, but there's some good cracking up here that probably hit the pier or something like that and did damage onto the vessel. And that is going to be doing that. It doesn't look like there's water intrusion up there, but it is something that we'll have to sand down and do further investigation into. So now we talked about we used our sights, now we're going to use our sound. So sound is actually knocking on the boat. Particularly if you have an area of concern, we're listening for something that doesn't sound the same. And then why does it not sound the same? Particularly if you have a blister or delamination, which can indicate a workmanship issue, it didn't laminate correctly at the beginning, or that there's water intrusion. That's a good indication because it's going to have a hollow sound. So if you have a known area, here it sounds very sharp. If you get that area of delamination or water intrusion, it's going to have a very hollow, thunky sound. The next step of inspecting FRP might not be done the same day, because that's where we're actually going to be inspecting the core material. You might get out there, and if they've already identified areas that need to be repaired, they might have already sounded off the fiberglass for you. If not, you'll be coming back at these identified issues, sanding down the core, sound to the core material so we can inspect the core material. It's important to know what the core material is before you get out to the boat, because you're going to be treating, if it's a wood core material or a foam core material, are treated very, very differently. If it's a foam core material, is it still in good shape? Once foam gets waterlogged, it starts to degrade and gets very soft and mushy, which means that you're going to have to cut that out for your repairs. If it's wood, can it be dried out? Does it need to be replaced? These are things that you're going to have to evaluate on that for each individual case. So in summary, we have gone over how to inspect the material condition of FRP. Today we've covered the PPE, how to visually inspect FRP, how to use sound to inspect FRP, how to inspect the core of FRP vessels, and to look for water intrusion and other points of concern and damage on a vessel. If you have any other concerns or questions, please contact your local verifying officer.